Hello, everyone. Welcome to Global Express. This is the new Indian Express's weekly interaction with experts, where we analyze the impact of developments in our backyard, on our neighborhood, of course, and on India. Do click on the new Indian Express website and tweet and follow Global Express. This week, we take a long and hard look at Pakistan, a nuclear-armed nation of 240 million people, where the electoral disqualification and incarceration of the former Prime Minister Imran Khan, which smacks of tactics long used to intimidate other political leaders who defy the military, be it Nawaz Sharif and his family, or the Bhuttos, and his daughter, of course, Benazir Bhutto, who was assassinated under very questionable circumstances. It's also, I believe, taking the country's focus away from counter-terrorism efforts that have given insurgents freedom to operate in the northwest Khyber Pakhtunkhwa areas. Joining us today is Dr. Ayesha Siddiqa, the highly respected Pakistani political commentator and author of the definitive book on Pakistan's army, Military Inc., Inside Pakistan's Military Economy. Dr. Siddiqa is a research associate at SOAS, the School of Oriental and African Studies in London. She previously served as the inaugural Pakistan Fellow at the Woodrow Wilson Center. I'm equally pleased to welcome Ambassador TCA Raghavan, former High Commissioner to Pakistan and author of The People Next Door, The Curious History of India's Relations with Pakistan. He's seen in India as having a rare insight into Pakistan's inner dynamics and is part of the Track 2 dialogue. So welcome, Ambassador Raghavan. Unfortunately, a lawyer from Imran Khan's legal team, who would have taken us through the privations of what it's like for Imran Khan to become a prisoner in a subclass jail, has cried off to the last minute, concerned, I suppose, at being targeted. But this is the Pakistan paradox, where the two main power centers are the civilian and the military, continue to circle each other. Dr. Siddiqa, let's start with you. The reluctance by the outgoing Shehbaz Sharif government to implement policies needed for economic stability contributed to, many say, Pakistan being destabilized internally as well as externally. The army is still playing favorites. I mean, Imran Khan has lost this bout. We don't know for how long. The legal team is saying it's a move by the army to remove the country's most popular politician from the reckoning, because if he stands for elections, he will win. They've called the charges frivolous. Now, what do you see going forward? What is the primacy of removing Imran Khan from this game? Was that the point of seeing him put in jail and now facing multiple charges of fraud and and far more serious ones of treason? And especially day before yesterday, this whole article which has appeared in a newspaper in the US, which talks about US interference. Would you take us through why Imran Khan, basically has been taken off the scene?
Yes. Well, firstly, thanks for inviting me. You've put forward a whole list of questions. We'd be sitting an entire day answering it. But let me take you through 2 points. Firstly, the short view, and the short view is that Imran has been put into jail, taken off the political radar. And by the way, there are instructions to all media channels not to use his name. So
that's right.
They can't refer to him as Imran Khan. They have to say leader of the PTI, or as they laughingly say, Abu Qasim, father of Qasim. That's his son's name. Now, the short view is that this is a populist leader that the army created itself, and he bit them like the last populist leader that they created, which was Zulfikar Ali Bhutto. They had to hang him. At least this one, they're not hanging. They're trying to kind of decompress him, kind of take away his popularity from him, and make sure that he doesn't disturb the institution.
But Dr.
And so
Siddiqa, isn't it also true that 2 days after he was arrested, on Saturday, the Monday elections in the Khyber Pakhtunkhwa local body polls in Peshawar, his party won hands down.
that will happen. This is now that is a result of another couple of factors. If you let me complete
Yeah.
my first answering, but let me answer this. See, two things have happened. One is that yes, his popularity is there, definitely in KP, where PTI performed and performed well. The other is that this is there is a peculiar thing which has happened in Pakistan's politics, especially after the 18th Amendment. And if you look at all Pakistan's politics and all political parties, whoever controls whatever province, the incumbency factor now does not affect them.
Oh.
Because it's a very, so you can't really push out a political party from somewhere unless the military plays an active role. Because 18th Amendment gives them control of resources. So you can't push People's Party out of Sindh. You can't really push PMLN out of
Punjab.
Out of Punjab. You can't push PTI out of KP. It's just Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. What you can do is you can break down parties, you can damage them politically, whatever. But let me go back to what I was trying to answer. So the short view is that they're trying to remove Imran Khan, the troublemaker. But secondly, I would argue that there was a bigger plan which had been in play starting from 2008, 2007, 8, where the army actually used Imran's populism to be in control of governance. So they installed a populist leader. The experiment didn't work. Now it's time to push him back, what they're doing, and they're gradually coming more center stage of governance. So they've shifted away, I'd argue, from control of government, which would be a martial law, to control of governance. So now the economy is being run by the army chief. Politics is being controlled by the army chief without him being answerable the same way as anybody would be when they're directly in control.
That's very interesting. So in 2017, you think they didn't have a measure of what Imran Khan was all about? They thought he would be a pliant, person who would do exactly what they want. Looking at the economy, I mean, that's quite interesting that you should bring that up.
Can I interrupt? See,
yeah,
the issue was not whether he's going to be pliant or not. He was pliant. He was pliant till the end. I mean, his problem is not that he wants to displace the army. He wants the army to help him stay in power. The only thing which they miscalculated was his ability to bring resources to the country and to kind of re-energize the economy.
So basically, because he it's because he alienated all the allies. Pakistan's traditional allies were alienated and they would not back them the way they did.
No. I don't think that we can accuse him of that either. I think his performance, his team's economic performance was poor. They couldn't generate resources. They couldn't bring, add to the already, whatever expatriates were sending to Pakistan. He couldn't increase those resources. He couldn't function the face of that government. And let's not forget that the economy which went sour was not purely because of his team. Of course, his team was the face of it, but it was still General Bajwa who was running the economy.
Oh.
So when the economy went bad, they kind of completely lumped it on Imran.
Ambassador Raghavan, welcome to the program. I admire you hugely. I'm a great fan. I really wanted to get to talk to you about, the failure of Imran Khan's, to deliver on what the army was expecting. Would that have also affected, the way that his whole business about dumping the free trade agreement? I believe that his team had put together this whole plan to have a free trade agreement, and it was Imran Khan who scrapped it. Would that be right?
A free trade agreement with whom?
With India.
Well, I doubt that very much, but thank you very much for inviting me to this program, and great pleasure to be with an old friend, Dr. Siddiqa, who has studied this much more closely than I as an outsider could ever do. And one has learned a great deal from her writings and her books and in interactions with her.
Absolutely.
But I think just to extend what Dr. Siddiqa was said, the way I see it is not so much specifically Imran Khan. Certainly that is important, but it's also a recurrent structural feature in Pakistan, which is a civil-military dynamic, and which, in fact, erodes and finally upsets every hybrid architecture that is set up. That it is in the nature of things that political power will come in clash or in conflict with the military hierarchy, because they see Pakistan in different perspectives. And Pakistan, very much like other developing countries, is a difficult, messy, complex country to run. And army general level officers see things in black and white and are therefore impatient with civilian authority and think they can do a much better job. And we find those same tensions emerging with Imran Khan, as they have in the past with other prime ministers too. I think certainly his own personal factor was there. The fact, as Dr. Siddiqa said, that in many ways he took decisions which appeared to be incompetent and in fact were incompetent. And that he was not able to pull together the team which the military had assembled along with him and had embedded him with. So those subjective conjunctural factors certainly played a role. But now that the dust is settling on that chapter of Pakistan's history and a new phase is beginning, I see an older structural principle asserting itself, which is that of a civil-military dynamic or civil-military unbalanced equation.
So it's basically a reinvention of the old in another form.
Reinvention of the old. And I don't think external relationships had a major factor in it. Either the relationship with India or, for that matter,
Saudi Arabia
or other countries.
Yeah, but this article which has appeared in this program, in the CIFR controversy, which has appeared in this US publication, The Intercept, has created quite a ripple, because it sort of implies, what's being said is that Imran Khan's team deliberately planted it in The Intercept, and it basically has Donald Lu, the US State Department official, the Assistant Secretary of State, saying that I think if the no confidence vote against the Prime Minister succeeds, all will be forgiven in Washington, because the Russia visit is being looked at as a decision by the Prime Minister. So, Dr. Siddiqa, wouldn't it doesn't that look as if the US was definitely deeply unhappy with Imran Khan? Whether they actually could do anything about it, of course, is a different issue. I'm sure they couldn't. Do you think it was we know that the US doesn't have the ability, but it definitely did not like the shift that Imran Khan was making vis-a-vis, away from America and into Russia's, arms, so to speak?
See, let me quickly give you a small kind of background of when things happened and how it happened. And, perhaps, Mr. Raghavan who's been a diplomat himself, and he knows how things happen, would bear me out on this. So this was basically a farewell meeting with Donald Lu by Pakistan's ambassador in the United States. It was a farewell lunch with the defense attaché also sitting there. And this was a conversation. Now, the conversation was that, Imran Khan was getting restive. He was unhappy that, the American government wasn't responding. And the conversation then drifted towards that, yes, there was it wasn't a secret as such. So Donald Lu's argument was that, look, the opposition is planning to, or they are introducing a vote of no confidence. So anything, for a government, for a foreign government to move forward, you need an amount of stability in the system of the other state. So, we'll decide when this happens and it's over with, when we know there is more clarity. So they were, of course, unhappy with statements made by Imran Khan, but by no means. I mean, let's not forget. If he kind of go backward a bit, and if I could remind you of the whole MemoGate scandal, in which
Yes.
the military accused a former ambassador Hussein Haqqani of actually sending a memo to the American government, encouraging them to intervene. Now, the point is that, as a result of all of that, of active interaction of the PPP government, the Kerry-Lugar-Berman bill came, in which the American government made sure that any funding to Pakistan was linked with the level of democracy. Now, that was to help. And I remember bumping into Mr. Berman in Washington later. And I asked him, I said, why don't you kind of keep your pressure and keep insisting on democracy strengthening? And he said, look, it's not our issue. It's not our problem. Ultimately, it depends on the people of Pakistan. I mean, look, whoever governs in Pakistan is not India's business. It's not Washington's business. It's how the governments deal with the United States. Fast forward, Imran Khan, right? So when Donald Lu had this discussion with Pakistan's outgoing ambassador, American aid to Pakistan had completely
Dried up.
Right? So America did not have that influence or even intend to kind of twist Pakistan's arm into changing, or to kind of changing what was happening in Islamabad.
What about now, Dr. Siddiqa? Now, is there a shift? Has the US got a little bit more, traction, because it's providing them with F-16s? It's giving them, it's the route that Pakistan has offered the Sultan Noor Air Base as the, route to fly weapons into Ukraine. It's providing drones. It does seem to be cozying up to the Americans.
See, I would argue that you guys sitting in India are imagining a lot of things. There are no F-16s per se. There are $450 million worth of purchase that Pakistan can do. For the F-16, it already has, and I think it's about 10 or 12 F-16 spares. It needed spares to run those F-16s. As we speak, F-16 is no longer the mainstay of Pakistan Air Force.
That's true.
Pakistan has to fight a battle. It's not going to be with the F-16s, but with the JF-17 Thunders. So, it's not what United States definitely is trying to do is keep its conversation with Pakistan as it would. I mean, Pakistan and United States have been in a relationship since the mid 1950s.
That's right.
And why lose an ally, number one? And number two, I think, as far as the whole Indo-Pacific strategy is concerned, United States understands that China has much more offer to Pakistan, yet it doesn't want Pakistan to entirely slip into, Chinese arms. which it would be tempted to if there is no conversation. So what I think United States is doing at the moment, and it has completely kept its hands off Pakistani politics. In fact, the statement which has come out after Imran Khan's arrest is that, look,
internal politics.
We would like Pakistan to be watchful of democratic norms, yet, we would not interfere. It's Pakistan's internal politics. So I don't think that much has shifted in United States-Pakistan relations. It's an ongoing relationship, which has not been affected, which is not going to get rosier or cozier because somebody has been removed. Pakistan has no capacity, and United States has no capacity to offer to Pakistan.
Yeah. Ambassador Raghavan, if I can just look at India-Pakistan, the track two dialogues that have happened, what's happened behind the scenes over the years. I mean, both with Nawaz Sharif and now that, during Imran Khan's time when Bajwa seemed to have reached out, and there were these, meetings which, which their ISI chief and our RNW, our national security advisors had. Where do you think that stands right now? Do you think that now, in 9 months or 4 months' time, when there's a new government in place, do you think that will see some kind of fresh life, lease of life?
Well, track two dialogues are between people who are not associated with the government. They may have been once associated with the government, but now it's a dialogue between civil society representatives on both sides. There could be academics, retired military officers, retired diplomats.
No, I brought up track two dialogues because I heard that one of the people in the running as interim prime minister could be a former ambassador who served in Delhi. I mean, it's just a rumor. Nobody knows for sure. It could be anybody. But, the fact is that, the army which is basically in control of Pakistan right now in every which way, would they be interested in resuscitating, any kind of talks right now? Would they wait for the polls to happen and, have legitimate governments, elected governments on both sides of the border?
Well, in India-Pakistan relations, you can never rule out the totally unexpected becoming a reality. And it's happened many times before. But having said that, I would say presently it appears unlikely, because if there is a caretaker government and there's going to be an election in Pakistan soon, and sometime in the first half of next year, India will also be having a general election, I don't think at this stage it looks as if any major diplomatic or political move will be made. But certainly, those who believe that the present situation in India-Pakistan relations represents a kind of a new normal, that is not correct, because India-Pakistan relations have historically followed a cyclical pattern, and since 2016, things have plateaued to a very low level, but this is by no means permanent. So once new governments are in place, and if the right kind of conditions develop, things will move in a different direction. That much is clear. What is more difficult is to predict the timing of this move. And there, as I said, it's the unexpected occupies a major space in India-Pakistan diplomacy. But I would say that one should never underestimate in India-Pakistan relations the role which political initiatives play.
Yes, absolutely.
So while the bureaucratic or the establishment view or the foreign ministry view, which is based on precedent, will point in a certain direction, you will find that political initiatives will take the relationship in a different direction. And that has, in fact, been the pattern for the past half century at least.
In fact, when Bajwa was the serving army chief, He did have a conversation with a whole bunch of journalists, which was supposed to be off the record, but then of course got leaked by various journalists, which actually talked about India and Pakistan agreeing to put a 20-year freeze on Kashmir. And the fact is that they were not going to make a noise about Article 370 at that point in time. That they'd wait to see how India and sorted it out. I mean, that's something which gave a lot of people the feeling that Pakistan under the army's writ was not going to be playing to the populists, like for example Bilawal Bhutto Zardari did when he came for the G20 in Goa, where he brought up Kashmir, and Shahbaz Sharif also has repeatedly said it. But there seem to be a mixed signals, because Shahbaz Sharif, before he quit as prime minister, before the assembly got dissolved, he did actually talk about that, that we could look at talking to India and reaching out to India. I found that the army's, that the army chief's conversation with journalists was quite interesting. That he would even be as progressive and as to talk about that. Do you agree with me?
The fact is that India and Pakistan have had diametrically opposite positions on Jammu and Kashmir for over 70 years. And the great issue always confronting their diplomacy has been how to deal with these diametrically opposed positions.
But if you remember, when Nawaz Sharif met Gujral in the Maldives at the SAARC summit, he actually came out and said this. He said, Kashmir will always be there, but let's look beyond Kashmir.
And the fact is that despite this difference, there have been periods when India and Pakistan relations have looked positive and have moved forward. But there have also been periods when there have been very negative phases. So the issue is not always what your stated position is on Kashmir, but a whole set of other issues and other factors which are on the table at that point of time. It's
For
also
example,
not the case.
President Musharraf's 4-point formula, which was offered to Dr. Manmohan Singh.
No, and even earlier, it's also not the case that it's not that with the military, it's not possible to make progress. After all, some very major developments in India-Pakistan relations have taken place when the military has been, in fact, not just behind the scenes, but actually running
the show.
Day-to-day events. So there's no black and white characterization. I think a lot depends on what else is happening, what is the regional situation, and how the leadership in both countries sees their self-interest at a particular point of time. There is no permanent state in India-Pakistan relations. The relationship is on the whole adversarial and will remain so. But in that general framework, there is a great deal of change possible.
So, Dr. Siddiqa, if I can come back to you, when you talked about the fact that the military will, to all purposes, is probably going to be calling the shots on the economy. Did they have a role to play in bringing? Was it the Shahbaz Sharif government, or was it the military which sort of brought in the IMF to look at Pakistan and a little bit more in a more less controversial manner, and to see that the funds did come in the end, and of course now we see a lot of investment talk, not just China, but the UAE and Saudi Arabia talking about investing in the ports and infrastructure and so on and so forth. Is it, there's a lot of criticism, of course, that, that Asim Munir doesn't really know what he's doing, and that this is like a fire sale, they're selling off everything that they can. Do you agree with that? Or do you think that, the interim government hasn't yet been announced, we don't know what's going to happen? Where do you see it going? I mean, I'd like Ambassador Raghavan to come in on that afterwards, on the economy.
See, let me get back to, the discussion on Kashmir and changes because on India, because your question on economy is partly linked with the issue of relations with India. See, I feel that at this juncture, the progress on India-Pakistan relations is going to be lack of conflict. And I think if we can sustain a lack of conflict for a few years without getting
That's good.
excited,
It's a good point.
you know, right? I think what's more likely, even if Asim Munir, for instance, is not going to jump around and say, all right, let's have trade with India. He's going to exhaust other options that are there. Money coming from IMF, money coming from China, from UAE, from Saudi Arabia. In fact, if you look, the current government is trying hard to do a balancing even between China and the United States.
Yeah, yeah.
In fact, what is very interesting, and I think this is where we'll get opening up on India-Pakistan as well. For instance, from what I've heard, is that China was equally interested in Karachi Port Trust. But China wasn't even probably informed, and the deal was given to UAE. And UAE, mind you, has a strategic relationship with India.
That's
so
true.
a very strategic infrastructure is being given to the UAE, which I think is very, very interesting. So what Pakistan is trying to do here is balance between United States and China, not given everything. Agriculture. Asim Munir is trying hard to have a go green,
Yes.
revamp agricultural economy. And apparently the military is in the forefront. And in one of the speeches he made, he said that, look, other militaries in the past have done it. China has been involved in agriculture, Chinese army. So it's not odd for Pakistan to do it. So what army is going to do is not do farming, become contractors who are going to facilitate, let other companies come do it and bring in money. So that's the plan. Now, I don't think that the army is going to do anything which will initiate a conflict. It understands that revamping the economy is the bigger initiative. And I think there is a gradual shift in Pakistan military. It's moving away from an external role to a deepening internal role.
That's fascinating.
Yeah. So that's important to note. And I'm not saying that it's going to become a peace army. It's not going to become a pre-1990s Sri Lankan army either. It's going to engage, it'll have foot in both, the boats. But
does it have the wherewithal to do it? Does it have the?
Let me finish. So what it's trying to do is, see, it's called the political wherewithal. It's acquired this role for itself, partly because our political stakeholders have completely given in. So when you initially asked me this question, if the army has done it, the army chief has been responsible for bringing in resources, or the Shehbaz Sharif government, the funny thing is that even if it's the efforts of Shehbaz Sharif was very happy to give the credit to the army chief. And in fact, what happened is that, recently, I think, they've opened, he inaugurated this road near Islamabad. It's the Barakah bypass. And he gave the credit even for that to the army chief. So this is a hybrid, not a 2.0 version, but a 3.0 version, in which army is, now the only problem, of course, that remains is that if, in case the new government, whatever government comes in, if they do not manage to pick up and give a boost to the economy. I mean, right now we hear that, money is coming from here, there, or everywhere. But if there isn't that sufficient boost to the economy, I think my fear is that that leaves the only option for the army to come back and take direct control of the state.
Really?
That's, yeah, because, then nothing else is left. Imran Khan project has failed. They're going to try Shehbaz Sharif project. If that doesn't work, then there is no other option. There is no third option but to come yourself.
And especially today, after the Supreme Court judgment, sort of not allowing Nawaz Sharif to contest elections, and I don't know how that is going
I think
to.
I think that there is a signaling. There is a signaling because, whenever Nawaz Sharif has come, Nawaz Sharif has kind of
Shaken
pushed
things
the
up.
army, he's tried to push the army to the back foot. And this is not something which they admire. So the army doesn't trust Nawaz and Nawaz doesn't trust the army. But that probably doesn't go the same way, with the other part of the PMP, Pakistan Muslim League, which is the Shehbaz part of it.
So, Ambassador Raghavan, do you believe that, if Pakistan's economy does take a tumble, and it, they have to increase prices of essential goods, of fuel, and all of that, because that's what the IMF wants to see happen. Do you believe that will reflect badly on the interim government, which probably is going to put in place in a couple of days? And will that then be something that Imran Khan's party will tap into, to sort of make them, say, we were willing to do this, we were willing to protect you, but, we're not being given the chance?
Well, it's very clear that things are going to get worse before they start getting better. And the interim government or the caretaker government has to take some very difficult economic decisions, which are going to cause a lot of pain to the public. And I think the caretaker government is in fact convenient to other political parties, especially to the Pakistan Muslim League and the Pakistan People's Party, because they can keep a certain distance from these unpleasant and difficult decisions which are going to be taken. But to achieve some kind of financial stabilization, those decisions have to be taken. So I think there is a general consensus, perhaps it is unspoken, that let technocrats do the heavy lifting on this, and we shouldn't have to take the political blame for it. Whether things will work out like that is difficult to say. You see, the problem for Pakistan is both a financial and an economic one. They have to bring about some kind of financial stabilization. But at the same time, it's quite clear that no matter how large are the amounts of foreign capital and whatever may be the source of that capital, foreign capital is not going to solve Pakistan's problems. Till they revive confidence in Pakistan's own business communities, that leads to some kind of an increase in domestic private sector investment. The economy really will remain in the crisis kind of mode it has been for some time. And perhaps Imran Khan's biggest failure was that he was not able to inspire that kind of confidence in the private sector.
That's
possibly
true. That's true.
The expectation is that Shehbaz Sharif or Nawaz Sharif or some kind of combination led by them will be more successful, and that will enable Pakistan to have economically a slightly more stable situation. But it's a hard call because the economic position is not good by any kind of standard you measure it from.
So, I mean, I was also told that Shah Mahmood Qureshi, heading a PTI minus Imran would be very acceptable to the army, because he also cozies up to them and doesn't really alienate them, which, I mean, just something that's talked about. And I was also fascinated by what kind of person Asim Munir is. I mean, is he somebody who's who had that larger than life persona that Bajwa had? I mean, I don't know whether he can really be able to pull the country behind him, enough to be the front for a military-led government. I mean, that's just an aside. But the other matter of concern is also the fact that a lot of with the military focusing so much on sort of removing Imran from the game, they took their eye off the ball, so to speak. I mean, there was, of course, the FATF, the Financial Action Task Force, which was looking at Pakistan and as the home of terror, the terror factory, and so on and so forth. But to a great extent, in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, the number of attacks that have taken place on the army has not been small. I mean, they've been virtually, the last one killed over 50 people. The suicide bomber that blew up when the JUI, was having a rally. And before that, there have been other attacks. Do you think that the Taliban are allowing, the terror groups like Tehreek-e-Taliban, Pakistan, and so on and so forth, and ISIS-K to, a free run, Dr. Siddiqa? Do you think that is that where it's going? Where,
Firstly, if I may, see, firstly, you have to understand that, the attacks on JUIF, etc. That's very ideological, because ISK is also ISI. This is also at one level, at the larger level, there is this battle going on between ISK and the Afghan Taliban. They're recruiting from the same pool of people. So they have their people who are permanently aligned with them, ideologically aligned with them, and then there are people that they attract. And therefore, these attacks are meant to kind of attract more support, that kind of a thing. The larger problem is that Pakistan is unable to go back, and it's not that its eyes are taken off. Even if its eyes were very much there, the problem was, how do you talk to the Afghan Taliban? This is, in a way, something which has come back to bite Pakistan. Afghan Taliban, the Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan, is very linked aligned with the Afghan Taliban. And Afghan Taliban, although they keep saying that, no, we've got nothing to do with it, they're very dependent in some ways tactically on Pakistan. The trade is going through Pakistan. Their families are here, and lots more in connection. And Pakistan at no forum has, until now, even now, said abandon the Taliban. Its policy is to support Taliban control of Afghanistan. The problem is that they're not managing to convince the government in Kabul to distance itself from the Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan, which unfortunately, probably from what I've heard, is also Taliban's way of kind of having a relationship with Pakistan. There is a trust deficit there as well. So, they're keeping the TTP afloat. Now with TTP, the problem is that TTP's eyes are on Pakistan and expanding its Sharia-led system into Pakistan. In fact, I was talking to it at a recent conference in London. I was talking to some Afghan experts, some who are also, who have some base in Afghanistan. They were saying that they did some recent survey, and the results were that these TTP guys and the Taliban guys were saying that, we'll start with Pakistan first and then, shift towards Central Asia. So they are in an expansionist mode that way. And the problem is with Asim Munir that there is the huge economic problem on the one hand, which he has to kind of get into.
Yeah.
Right. But the problem is that you don't have the money for a full-scale battle. What if he goes and actually targets the TTP targets in Afghanistan. The Afghan Taliban are saying, don't cross the border and attack
That's
our
right.
territory. So if he does that, the battle expands. Does he have the resources or the capacity to actually fight that full-scale war if it comes to that? So that is where the problem lies at the moment.
That's fascinating. That's really fascinating. I'm unfortunately running out of time, but I have one last question for you, Ambassador Raghavan. Do you see this, a kind of, I mean, talking about the terror attack and the spillover, there seems to be Kashmir seems to have quietened down to a great extent. And it just seems to be bubbling from the resident terrorists who are left over, I think, in Kashmir or abandoned, we don't know. Do you see any possibility of India and Pakistan coming to some kind of arrangement, on this kind of thing with Asim Munir there? Would it be politic for India to reach out to him?
You see, it's true that after the reaffirmation of the
after
ceasefire,
26/11, yeah,
after the ceasefire reaffirmation, things have generally been more stable on the line of control, especially in Jammu and Kashmir. Now, some people say that that's a very good change. Others say that, look, it's not. We can't be certain that this thing is permanent. And these kinds of debates always take place. But the point is, you see, where Kashmir is concerned, and this expectation that India and Pakistan can come to some arrangement, which then leads to a stable kind of situation. The point is that the key question in India-Pakistan issues is not a specific one. It's a general one. And that is of strategic suspicion and mistrust. So whenever you speak about reaching an agreement or reaching some arrangement with anyone who's in charge in Pakistan, or similarly in Pakistan, when they think about anyone who's in charge of India, this question of trust plays a very important role. So the first question is that how do you go about achieving that minimal trust? And there, once you've achieved that, then other things are possible. At the present stage, I don't think there is sufficient focus in Pakistan on this issue, because as was mentioned, given their own internal turbulence right now, nobody has the inclination to think about this kind of arrangement, at least in the short or medium term. And certainly, nobody wants to take that political risk, given the precariousness of the overall situation in Pakistan, of being caught on that kind of being caught out on that kind of a situation, with the rest of the politics playing out in the way it is.
Yeah. Thank you. Dr. Siddiqa, if I can just end with you, what do you see happening with Imran Khan? Is he going to get a category jail status? Is he going to be in jail forever? What's going to happen to him? And who do you see leading Pakistan as an interim prime minister? Caretaker prime minister?
Well, very quickly on Imran. Imran wished it on himself in some ways, because he made the changes under his government that political prisoners will be given, not be given A class.
Oh, I see.
So those changes were made in his own government. It's now come to him. He's been sent to Attak jail. Attak jail doesn't have an A class, and I believe it doesn't probably have a B class either.
My God.
So he's going to be there in very uncomfortable position. 1 minute. I don't see him coming out. Even if he gets bail in this case, there'll be something else. So I think for 2-3 years, as long as he doesn't agree to a mode of behavior, he's going to be in. Who's going to be the interim prime minister? I think that is being delayed, apparently, because the PMLN wants a politician, and the Shehbaz part of the PMLN, and the army wants somebody. And I think in a way I understand why a neutral name is perhaps favorable, because if you want to contest elections, you don't want, for example, Ishaq Dar to be the interim prime minister, or a PMLN senior. The name of Jalil Abbas Jilani was apparently even favored by the Pakistan People's Party. So a neutral chap, who can run the country through these 3, 4, 5, 6 months, however long it takes to get to the stage where they can contest elections, because I think they're eager to contest elections.
That's right.
So, that will happen. The strange thing is that there is not a consensus. So
thank you very, very much. It was lovely talking to you, Ambassador Raghavan. Lovely talking to you, Ayesha. Take care. Thank you very much for being a part of this.